Let's take you back to one of our top stories now. South Africans being plunged back into darkness, if you like, for a large part of every day. That's as load shedding stage 6 takes hold. Today, the electricity minister will provide some kind of update on the generation performance. Let's get you a sense of what to expect. Bring in Nqobile Madlala, who's watching developments for us from GCIS's offices. And there is so much to cover, Nqobile, given the fact that we've entered yet another bout of crippling stage 6 power cuts from this week.
Well, yes, Ayanda. In fact, when they explained it on Friday, they said that it was a loss of 5 generating units that were out. So it's quite a lot of power that was lost. And of course, I think every South African just wants to know when they're going to have their power. And of course, this comes at the back of the minister visiting some power stations and just ensuring that all the workers are happy, but as well as the fact that it is being productive on the ground. So it's quite interesting that they lose that power after the minister has already spoken to some people on the ground. And you can just imagine also this impacts a lot of businesses that are already struggling. The country is struggling with high unemployment, and now there's more onto that when you have load shedding stage 6. Basically, if you look at the app, it tells you that you don't have power for over 12 hours. So that's basically half of the day already that you don't have power. So it will be interesting to hear if the minister does, in fact, has this now under control. Does that mean that the power is back? And if they still have any reserves at this point, because I think every South African wants to hear that.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're yet to actually quantify the cost of load shedding to things like the economy. But there's also been talk of this energy action plan since Kgosientsho Ramokgopa began giving these updates. And there are serious questions about whether the plan is working.
Well, indeed, Ayanda. I mean, part of that action plan is, of course, those conversations that we saw. We ourselves were on the ground, listening to the minister, speaking to the people on the ground, just to sort of make sure that every single power station is doing the best that they can. We were there in Mpumalanga when he was speaking to some of the people on the ground, communicating really to not just the workers, but also those that represent the workers, to look at how they can best ensure that there is power and that there is a working relationship between Eskom and its workers. And you could see that it looks like a win on the ground, but if you look at the fact that the generation capacity, it keeps depleting, it's becoming quite an issue. And at some point, you will remember that we went to stage 1, and at some points there was no load shedding at all, and that was a win. But again, after having that, then you could see an emergency, and again breaking back into that, plunging into that darkness. So it is quite interesting to see if that action plan in itself is going to work in any way going forward because of what we're currently seeing. And of course, when you talk about the economy, and it becomes very difficult for a lot of businesses. I mean, if you speak to businesses that are very young or new in the game, this really affects them badly. If you're someone, for example, who's on the side of the road that has to cook food and make sure that you're basically there to sell, that becomes very difficult. You can imagine already quite a lot of people stay without power for quite longer periods. Food, it affects quite a lot of people. You will remember at this time, Ayanda, is the time when quite a lot of South Africans will go into Stockfell. A lot of them would buy food in bulks. What happens to the meats that they have bought? So it doesn't just affect the businesses, it affects the people as well, normal people that are trying to have the normal living. So this affects them. But further than that, you'll find that quite a lot of people have also complained about the fact that the appliances are breaking because of what's taking place. We've seen also substations going in, really just breaking down and burning and all sort of things. So you can imagine that all this rolling blackout has a huge impact also on infrastructure. So that same infrastructure that he was saying that, of course, speaking to the people, he's working on that infrastructure, the Eskom infrastructure, looking at how the service, the maintenance is going. So it's quite a lot that he needs to basically speak to. But of course, we will get more information as he starts speaking to us at 10 o'clock today.
Absolutely. And our viewers can catch that briefing first here on Newzroom Afrika channel 405. For now, Nqobile Madlala, live to us there from Pretoria. Thanks very much indeed.